Previously, the fishermen successfully solved the mushrooms chess puzzle and were told that they needed to head to the bridge to nowhere to see Capablanca. They didn't waste any time and immediately set out towards the coast. They traveled along the coast for a while until they finally found the bridge. However, just as they were about to step foot onto the bridge, a tall, muscular man stepped in front of them and said, "Not so fast. Where do you think you're going?" They said, "Nowhere. We're just trying to cross the bridge." He said, "I'm the guardian of this bridge and nobody crosses unless you can first solve my challenge." They said, "Okay, what's the challenge?" He said, "Here are the rules. I'm going to present to you three positions. In two out of those three positions, white will lose the game. Only one of them can white save it and get a draw. Your job is to identify correctly which of the three positions is the draw for white. If you can do that, I'll let you cross the bridge." And having said that, he presented them with the following three positions. All right, here's position number one. It's white to play, and white's pawns are going forward in this direction. Here is position number two. It's also white to play, and again, the pawns are going forward in this direction. And here is position number three. It's white to play, and again, the pawns are going forward in this direction. And just to recap the rules, you have to identify which of these three positions is the one that white can save the game. Two of them white will lose, one of them white can save and get a draw. If you would like to pause and figure this out at home, again, here's position number one. Here is position number two. And here is position number three. Go ahead and pause, and when you think you have the solution, we'll talk about what the fisherman said. All right, if you had a chance to look at that, so the three fishermen began analyzing the positions, and Peter Potzer, when he saw this position, immediately said, "This is too complicated for my 700 rated brain. I'm going to jump to the next one. This one also looks relatively complicated. I'm going to jump to the next one. And this one, I think I can actually solve." And here is what Peter Potzer thought. He said, "Well, I have to take the rook because I'm in check. And after that, it looks to be a simple pawn race. And I think I can calculate that. Black's going to move here. I'm going to move here. Black's going to move here. I'm going to move here. Here, 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 here. Black's going to get the queen, but then I'm going to get a queen with check. And we're going to simply have a queen against a queen. Now, I might not know much, but I'm pretty sure that should at least be a draw." And he immediately shouted out, "Position number three is the draw." Now, at this point, Bobby was still calculating and didn't really know what to say, so he was silent. Average Joe, however, also had a conclusion at this point, and here's how his thinking had went. He said, "This position must surely be a loss for white because of the bishop. It's almost even pawns. The bishop is going to come over here and start capturing things. Black's king is actually not even that far away. There's no way that white's not going to lose this one. However, this position looks to be an easy draw for white because white is only down one pawn. It's opposite colored bishops. This bishop's on a light square. This bishop's on a dark square, which normally, from the Chess Vibes videos that I've watched, seems to be a draw. Also, the king is in a great position to stop the pawns from moving forward. This must be the draw." And he immediately shouted out, "Position number two is what I think is the draw." Now, at this point, Bobby Fischerman had finished analyzing all three of the positions, and he said, "The first position is the draw. That's my answer." Now, hopefully you've had a chance to analyze these on your own at home, and now we will talk about what the Guardian said in response to the three fishermen. The Guardian looked at Peter Potzer and said, "You are incorrect. That is the wrong evaluation, and here is why. Instead of immediately pushing the pawn, Black will play the move king to d7. And the point is that if white now starts to push the pawn, the black king is going to be able to cut it off, stopping it from becoming a queen. After something like this, the king will blockade it. And when white tries to come around, now black simply pushes the pawn. The white king is unable to catch it, and black wins. Also, after this move here, if white doesn't push the pawn and plays king to a7, which is really the only other move because you don't want to block your own pawn, then watch what happens now after the pawn race. This pawn pushes. Both pawns are racing down the board. And when black gets the queen, notice now, because white was forced to move the king, it's a check. White is unable to get the queen right away, and after something like this, the queen is going to slide over with check. King has to move here, and then after king to c6, black simply gets checkmate. At this point, the Guardian said, Peter Potzer, you are disqualified, and you may not cross the bridge. He then moved on to the second position. He said, Average Joe, you are also incorrect. This position is not a draw, and here is why. The white's king is in check. The only move that you have for white is to drop back because you have to keep defending your bishop. For example, if you tried to step over here, you would simply lose your bishop and the game, and so you have to play king to b4. But now black has an amazing move. Before I tell you what it is, if you guys at home would like to pause, what do you think black's incredible move is in this position? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move is rook takes a5, sacrificing the rook, which is a mind-boggling decision in this position. But here's what happens. King takes the rook, and black has an amazing follow-up, b6 with check. And if you look carefully, there's only one square that the king can move to, back here. And after this, black has another amazing move. If you would like to pause, what is it? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move is king to b2, cutting off the king from escaping down and setting up checkmate with the pawn. For example, if black wastes a move and comes down here to get the bishop, c5 is checkmate immediately. Game over. So the only way that white can really stop that is by pushing the pawn to give themselves a place to move to. But black still plays c5 check, forces the king over to a4, and b5 is actually checkmate with the pawns and the bishop and the king all playing a role. Even white's own pawn is stopping the king. It's an incredible position, and white loses. The Guardian said, you, Average Joe, are also disqualified. You may not cross the bridge. With that, he proceeded to jump over to this position. He said, Bobby Fischerman, you are correct. You are allowed to cross the bridge. Now, if you guys would like to pause, what's the move that draws the position for white in this position that Bobby found? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the drawing move for white is the move b6. And essentially what white is trying to do is simply capture this pawn and get a queen. So of course, black has to take it. There's no way that the bishop can get around in time to stop that from happening, so black is obligated to take. And now, if you would like to pause again, what does white play as a follow-up? If you had a chance to look at that, it's the move c5. And essentially, white is trying to do a pawn breakthrough where you sacrifice some pawns in order to get through. You can see that if black recaptures this way, white would simply play d6. And now white is going to be actually winning the game because one of these pawns is going to become a queen. Even if black takes, this is gone, and black can't stop that. So black has to recapture this way. And again, white recaptures, and the same kind of idea is that white is about to push this pawn forward and either capture, or like if black just wastes a random move, this is the threat, and even if you take this pawn, it's gone. Okay, so the only move that black has is bishop to a3. And this is a very clever move, and you're going to see why in just a second. So c6, only move here for white, trying to create that pass pawn and get a queen. Of course, black is going to capture it. We recapture. And here, black has a very nice move. If you would like to pause, what does black play? If you had a chance to look at that, the move is d5 check. And the nice thing about this move is that after white recaptures, the bishop can come back and block the pawn. And it's looking very good for black. If you would like to pause, what can white do to save the game? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the amazing move is king to f5. And yes, the bishop can come back to stop our pawn, but now we have this move c7, giving up the pawn. Of course, black has to take it or we're going to get a queen. But once they take it, look at this position. It is actually a stalemate. Our king has nowhere to move because all these squares are taken by black's pieces, and the game is a draw. Fascinating way to save the game, but it does work, and there's nothing that black can do. Well, congratulations if you saw that. This king f5 move was completely surprising and a fascinating way to save the game. Now, at this point, since Bobby Fischerman had successfully solved the puzzle, he was allowed to pass, but the Guardian said, Peter Potzer and Average Joe, you have to wait here while Bobby goes on ahead. Bobby continued down the bridge, and that's where we'll pick up our story next time. As always, thanks for watching, stay sharp, play smart, and take care.